what's up, guys? It's Craig Syracusa Walking Faith. I'm excited to be sitting down with Dimas Salaberrios. Dimas, I love you, my brother. How are you doing?
Hey, we're doing great. No mask on right now, so we're all feeling good. Hoping this virus will disappear. That's my prayer. And just making the best out of things.
I know. This has definitely been an interesting time, to say the least. Thank you for sitting down, of course. And, whenever I talk about you, especially family and friends, I'm always, referring to you as an older, no offense, Martin Luther King. I mean, you do things. It's probably not the first person to say that, but you get it a lot. I mean, you do things that honestly most people, want to believe that they have the ability to do, but are afraid. I mean, you step out of your comfort zone. I mean, you're evangelizing. I see you in the city. You're traveling all around the world, all around the country. So I want to ask you, what has sort of prepared you for this moment? Because you have no fear at all. I mean, when you called me and said, come to the city, I was afraid. I had a million excuses, but you are not afraid. You were on the front line.
I realized a long time ago that my life doesn't belong to me. My life belongs to God. If he wanted me dead, those bullets would have came out of the gun when the hitman pointed them to my head and pulled the trigger several times. And, and I look back at all my friends that are gone and in the grave, that I know I'm here for a purpose. And, I can't control these moments in time, but I can while my life is here. I think God keeps us here when we're useful. Mm-hmm. So I'm just trying to be as useful as I can so that I still continue to fulfill things that he wants accomplished, like what we're tried to do, in that crazy city of Chicago, just tried to fulfill some purposes out there. And we're looking now where the homicides are higher than they've ever been, which has been recently really breaking my heart,
Yeah, I know Ron and I, Ron Hall, mutual friend, I was listening to his podcast and I was looking at his guests and I heard you were on the show and what a great interview. But, I had him on my show. I wanted to help him promote his podcast. And he mentioned Chicago, America's Hidden Wall, which is the documentary that you were working on. And I was fortunate enough to see some of it several months back. And I remember just being shocked just to watch this. And if you could tell us a little bit about the film and also what is the situation like now compared to what it was pre-pandemic?
Yeah, so I was writing my book, my book Street God, and I went down to visit my publishers that are on the outskirts of Chicago in the Wheaton area. And they told me, they said, do you know about all the killings that's going on down there? And I said, what are you talking about? And they said, oh my gosh, more than Afghanistan and Iraq put together, the homicides and the casualties of people are larger numbers than that. So I said, what? Well, let's go. And I called some people up, got on all these radio shows all out there. And I said, let's come together at Daily Plaza. And only 6 people showed up. I thought I was a complete failure, man. You know how it goes.
The one sheep, it's only one. You only need one person, remember.
And interesting enough, somebody took a photo and they said, we made the cover of the Chicago Sun-Times or something like that. I said, all 6 of us? And it said, New Yorker, ex-drug dealer goes to Chicago to fight against the homicides. So then for 3 years, I just kept going down and going down. And eventually we started to get hundreds of churches involved. And then I said, we're going to come down and I'm not going to eat. I'm going to fast for 40 days and walk the streets and go up to the drug dealers and killers and tell them my story and try to get them to stop the killing. And so that grew. Some people heard about it and they said, hey, I want to do a film on it. And then, they read my book. They said, well, I'd rather do your book. And I said, no, that's already covered right now. And then the Lord just spoke to me and said, Dimas, you did the documentary Emmanuel on the church shooting of South Carolina. Trust me, and you could do this film on Chicago. So I just gathered our team together. I got no money. I'm like, we're gonna go. We're gonna do this film. And they called me up. Well, when are we booking the flights? I said, it's coming soon. It's coming soon. And then miraculously, 3 people just stepped up with hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I mean, literally down to the last minute. And I think we got the money like a week and a half before we all landed in Chicago. And we just landed into a war zone. I mean, a cop shoots and kills a guy day one on the ground. We're running into riots. We're running into shootouts. I mean, it was, I was in the middle of New York when it was the murder capital, and it was nothing. It didn't come close to living in that war zone kind of experience. I thought I was in another country.
Wow.
It is a shame what's going on in Chicago. A total shame on our beloved nation that we're all not there solving the problem. Something great has got to happen. So I filmed this movie to show what it's like to do war time kind of combat filming, so people can really understand what these people are living through and going through.
I mean, you said so many interesting things. And so this is obviously a calling. This is more than, because you could be doing documentaries and films about climate change, about anything. I mean, but you're going into, like you said, a war zone. I mean, I've only heard about, Chicago from, Kanye West spoke about it in films and documentaries, but, I lived in Brooklyn, and I can't even compare it. When I started watching some of the documentary, and there was like, they talk about death with no empathy and just no connection to emotion. I'm like, I couldn't even relate to some of the characters. So, but you have an interesting story. So let me ask you, when you go there, can you just preach the gospel, or do you have to sort of tailor it in a way where they relate to it? Because they don't have that same connection to emotion. So how do you preach to them about the gospel when their life expectancy is, what do they say, 22, 23?
Yeah, so I told our team, we're gonna wear white, like a white shirt, jeans. We're gonna walk up like, almost hands in the air, basically, so that we don't get a mistaken identity and get fired on. And sometimes, I ain't gonna lie to you, I took some white guys, said, y'all walk up in front so they know we're not the enemy coming, because it's just that intense. But once we got around them, we just, I tell people, when you're on the streets like that, there are people that are receptive and rejective. There's only 2 types. You meet rejective, you walk away. One guy said, man, get away from me. I am the devil. And other dudes around him was like, yo, listen, he is. So that meant right away, they're like, this guy kills with no remorse. And if we continue with him, he don't have any problem killing us.
Wow.
So we moved further away, and we went, to the next set of guys, and they were more open, like, yo, you from New York, what's going on? They're like, I know it's crazy out there, y'all gotta be killing like we are. I said, no, bro. I said, New York is not like this anymore. I said, LA's not like this. You guys are in a class by yourselves. And then just start like, yo, let me tell you my story. And I'll go into my story, and then just start praying for them and talking to them and engaging them and letting them know, you can leave this, you know what I'm saying? So we were sent to the worst block. This is where Michelle Obama was born. It's called O Block Parkway housing projects. And 2 blocks down is Vernon and 69. And these guys are warring against each other. The battle got so bad, McDonald's up and left. They shut down. Walgreens closed down. Like, we can't be in the middle of this. They just started abandoning buildings and leaving. Imagine McDonald's packing up, and jetting. This is what that environment was. They were so scared of being killed because they were right in the crossfire, and too many shootouts were happening in those 2 businesses. So it was that kind of intensity. And we just said, well, what if you guys stop shooting? And we talked to this other group. Can they stop shooting? Can we do a summer truce? And they did. and they actually did it. So, crime started going down on the most violent blocks in Chicago. And that just shows what we can do when we really go out there and we're engaging them and we're talking to them and we're not afraid. I mean, did I feel some concern? Absolutely. But I just had to push through it. And I honestly say the fast helps. When you're starving and you're watching all your weight shrivel up and your face looks like, just these kids you see on TV and the point of starvation, your mind just goes to a different zone where I was just like, okay, if I get blasted, I get blasted, but I hope not. But I'm just gonna keep every day pressing forward, and that's what happened.
Wow. I mean, and you don't hear about any of this on the news. Like last night, right? I didn't hear about this. I mean, you never hear about this. I'm hearing it from you, and I've seen it a little bit, but even you telling the story, it's still hard to really to understand and to picture what it's like. So just if you can explain, so this, when you say a block or a community, how big is this community? And then also, I know we all know your background. I know your background. So when you see some of these guys, I guess you're able to determine if this is someone I should approach versus someone that is, like you said, the devil. But are the police present at all? Like you're walking around talking, are there people like community service people that come out and talk to the community, the churches, or anyone that's trying to rehabilitate these guys?
What's different from New York to here is like, if there's a murder in New York, boom, boom, boom. Okay. New York cops come and they put up a tower now with lights. They shut your block down. In Chicago, there would be a homicide. We would leave and come back in an hour. No tape, it's just a cleanup crew. Wow. So a lot of police just turn up to be a cleanup crew. I was shocked. I'm on the worst block. I'm thinking, oh man, there's gonna be cops everywhere. You just don't see them. You barely see them. I mean, this was blowing my mind. I'm like, why I'm driving around all the worst areas and I don't see cops? So there's a huge absence of the police presence. And then once in a while they'll come through. And it reminded me of down south. When I sold drugs in the South, so this movie is being told from a drug dealer perspective. So this is a very unique angle. So it's not like your normal film, and the access that we get is different, So it's like you would see like the cops come through every hour or so, every two. In New York, when we sold every minute, cops, you put someone, okay, you're getting money, but cops, like, it's not like that whatsoever. So there's a big empty gap, and that's why they're missing so much. And then there's a huge brokenness in the relationship with the cops in the community. Because, so these blocks are almost like New York City blocks. It's not a lot of difference in space and size and length. These guys are 2 blocks away from each other in a bloody war. And these wars go on all over the city. And there's so much unforgiveness and hurt and pain that it just continues on and continues on and continues on. And the guys, you'll hear them in our film. And when you're watching the film, we have these updates. So you'll see like day one, 22 people shot. Then an hour later, you see 39 shot. Then you'll see the next day, 78 people are shot. When you see these numbers, you're gonna be like, what the heck? Can this be real? It just keeps shooting up. You'll see 200 something, 300 something. I mean, you're like, how could this be? How could this be? And we're talking, maybe in a 8 mile, 9 mile radius. We're not even talking like Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, Manhattan. We're not talking that. We're talking like the Bronx, and that's it. And it's just the wild, wild west.
I remember there was in the film, there was a woman, I think her son went to the front door and she heard a couple of shots and he died.
Yeah.
She's telling the story, and it's just thinking about it now, reflecting on it. I can't even imagine. So just give me a comparison. You said Afghanistan, but like say in New York, I know now crime's up, but how many people die or are murdered in a year in New York versus Chicago or Atlanta? What is the statistics around? Like how much more is it
Yeah.
in Chicago, would you say?
I just recently heard they had a month in Chicago where over 500 people were killed in a month. That is insane. So New York may be something like 200 murders a year, that's a high time for New York. Chicago can be 700, 800, 900,000, easy. You can have now if we go into people shot, you can have like 13,000 people shot in a year. It's by God's grace all these people are not dying. But did you hear? I ain't talking like 1,000, 3,000, not 5,000, not 10,000, 13,000 people being shot. The hospitals, there's lines going down the block for the waiting room. I mean, that is sick. And this is, it's so insane. And I'm there begging them, like the film, we're releasing this film on Martin Luther King weekend because Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday weekend, because Martin Luther King, he died while he was living in Chicago trying to fight for the peace of Chicago. And he said, even himself, he never saw anything like it. He saw deeper racism, he said, in Chicago than even in the South. It was different. When Martin Luther King walked through Chicago, they were throwing bricks and rocks to try to stone him to death. He got stabbed. I mean, it was like so vicious. And he was like, wait a minute. So there's an element there that I want people to really understand. Chicago was almost birthed in the mafia culture, and from the mafia culture and Al Capone, then it went to the gang culture that learned from the mafia culture, and they weren't just killing you, they'll kill your family and all this. So this is just going on and on, that now it's at the point where these young shooters, that it's like a game of a video game. They'll shoot you, shoot a kid, shoot a woman, shoot, like they're shooting everybody, like counting points. I shot 30 people. I shot 17, to get more respect by how many people they hit. So innocent people are getting shot all the time. Wow. And we almost drove into a shooting ourselves. We had to pull over and start wearing bulletproof vests to go out and around. So it's crazy.
I mean, you're married, you have kids. I mean, what does your wife say when you say, "Hey, honey, I'm going to Chicago"? I know you're called to do it, and you're not afraid, and you have experience. But I mean, you still have a family. I mean,
well, my wife is one of the boldest women that I know and courageous. So we went there as a family.
Wow.
We were there, and then we were driving in the several weeks in there, and something told us like, hey, stop here, because someone was saying, hey, I need to get something from a store. This woman that was riding was named Rose. And when we pulled over, literally like 30 feet ahead of us, we would have been driving right through that. And I swing a U-turn. And then after that, we looked at each other because we still knew we were going to be there for another 5 weeks. So we just said, find a camp. We got to send our kids. We need to get them out of here. We're going to be here. We'll be here. But let's send them away to a sleepaway camp. And we sent them away where they stayed with their aunt. And it was actually a day camp. And she took care of them for the rest of the summer. But when we finished from there, I had a serious case of PTSD. Like my nerves, like I felt like I came out of war. It took several weeks for my emotions to come down to its natural state. I didn't even come back to New York. I think I flew into New York, grabbed clothes, and I said, we need to leave the country. I just need a vacation. And I flew away for several weeks. I went to the Galapagos Islands. That's how far I went. I said, I just want to be around nature. I want to see little things crawling and see birds. I don't even want to hear anybody. I want to see rare species of stuff. And then finally, I felt a sense of healing. I said, let's go back now.
Wow.
But unfortunately, it was tough, and I had a way of escape. But kids in Chicago, young kids, do you know how they sleep? They sleep under their beds. They leave their mattress on top, and they slide their little cells. 10 and 11-year-olds are sleeping under their bed because they find that's the safest place where they feel like they won't get shot. That's how much fear children are carrying. 8, 9, 10 years old. There's one kid who was 6 years old. He's been shot twice already. A 6-year-old. They said he's the worst kid in the school. Why? Because he's already figured I better have whatever wild fun I can because I'm not going to be here probably. And that is what's going on in that city. And everyone knows someone that was killed. Like, it's almost like Rwanda. I went to Rwanda, and everyone you met knew someone or they lost someone, and sometimes they would say, my next door neighbor killed my sister, my wife, and my daughter. I mean, it's stories like that. In Chicago, it's that intense. There's very few people that haven't been touched.
So what are some of the positive stories? I know you said you ministered and you evangelized, you spread the gospel. Were there any positive stories of people that you spoke to that you brought to church, or they were born again, or anything that you remember?
We flew down $2 million worth of supplies, Bibles, Jesus DVDs. We got hundreds of churches to hit the streets for those 40 days. And they baptized a lot of shooters. People turned in guns. Not even a gun buyback, just coming like, I don't know why, but I'm supposed to bring this gun. It was like almost like miracles. They would get, and I mean, guns with clips this big that could knock out, a whole block. AK-47s, M1s, 9mm. So it was this, because of all the prayer and the spiritual calling and unity of the church, something supernatural happened, and the murders dropped by 20%.
Wow.
I mean, that was huge amount of people saved where the murders dropped like that. The only problem is I wish that the church could stay on those streets all year round until we win them. And that's the place we have to get to, where the church adopts a corner and is like, I'm going to be here. And there's some that do that, like Campus Crusade for Christ Crew. They adopted this corner, man, and they just smothered it. I mean, there's barely any violence goes on there because they're there pounding it with ministry every single day. And that's what has to happen in Chicago, along with great reforms and legislation and all those kind of things. But I'm a minister, so I'm speaking for what the angle I know I can do, and because I have no control over what government does.
You're right, and what you're saying too could be, instituted today. I mean, you could. There's a group in the city. I don't know about now, but they minister in. It's like Little Italy. It's I know one of the guys that does it every single day. They're out there. They're preaching the gospel. So now, okay, the film will be out soon. And what do you hope people walk away with? Because after documentaries, it has such an impact on us, and the emotion sometimes only lasts for a few minutes. So does a film like this, or does your film sort of plant a seed, or does it have a lasting emotional effect where people say, okay, I need to do something immediately? Like, what do you hope that people walk away with, after they watch this documentary?
Yeah, so I would hope we have to move from, we have to understand that apathy, is the enemy. Apathy is the enemy. Like, it's just too bad, they're shooting each other. This was going on. Hey, it's too big. They stripped all the community centers in Chicago. So we want to help build community centers in these areas to get kids off the street. People can come down in the summer and volunteer with nonprofit organizations there. Come and spend a week and work with these younger kids and keep a relationship with some of these kids. What people need to understand is only 1,500 shooters. And this is a statistical fact. 15, it goes from 15 to 1,700 that they've analyzed are shooters. That is a reachable, adoptable, a number that people can adopt these guys, get in their lives. You're going to see some great points where some of the shooters at the end of the movie turn around and opportunities start to happen for their lives, different great moments like that. So there's a lot of hope in Chicago, America's hidden war as well. And we just need more. We need more people to fast and pray, to go down there, to join arms. And we want to be like a conduit where people can connect with us, and we connect them with groups. You know, like one guy, he built a gymnasium inside of a church. So now these kids can go in there and play basketball. And it may sound like a small thing, but if you're in there playing ball indoors, guess what? You're not out there. And then you're tired after that, and you're going home and you sleep. So I remember in New York, they used to have what was called the Big Apple program, where they used to turn schools into community centers for the summer. And when I look back, those are the most fun, peaceful summers that I can remember in my childhood. And then they did away with that as well, you know.
Yeah, my friend Patty Russo, I'll give him a plug. He runs the Cops and Kids, and he puts them in on the inner cities. And he says it's $50,000 a year to put a kid in prison, and it costs him $50,000 to run his gym. He takes all the gang members, all the kids in the projects, and they learn how to box. And he takes them off the street. But what happens? You lose funding. The police weren't supporting it anymore. But things like that really do help. I mean, Muhammad Ali's a great story. We all know how sort of he got his boxing career was through the PAL.
Tyson, imagine Tyson walking the streets.
I mean, you're right. I mean, I just, you know, I really can't wait to see the full film, and I'm proud of you. I mean, when I see you online on YouTube and just Facebook and the work that you do, it's really, I mean, it's God's work. I mean, we know that. I mean, the films, the documentaries, just everything about you, you know, and I'm honored to call you my friend. I really am. I really do. Anything I can help you with.
I appreciate your phone calls when you call me up and you text me. It may seem like a small thing, but it's very encouraging. As you know, when you're doing this work, it's a very lonely work. You know, you're wondering, you know, you always say, so could I do more? What else can I do? And I just hope that by watching Chicago, America's Hidden War, I hope people will show up to the theaters. We need them to come out, wear your mask. What's one good statistic is there been no breakout from movie theaters. They open around the country, not yet in New York, but around the country, 47 states have movies open, and they're doing a great job in how they space it out at 30% and stuff like that. But we need people to come out and support, and to go to the theaters. And also, if there's schools, we love to connect with you, how to show it to your school. We're going to be doing a prize for different schools with artwork on some of the characters, and we're going to give $1,000 gift to a classroom.
Wow.
You know, so we're thinking of ways to give back to schools around the nation as well, that get engaged, because these are things that our children need to know about, talk about. And there's a clean version of the film with no cursing, no language, that churches and schools and nonprofits could take children to. That version is G or PG-13, maybe somewhere around there, but not for language whatsoever. But some of the content, you know, when you hear about these kids, it should hit you in your heart.
Exactly.
And I think caring is a good thing. And I think the Bronx, where I presently reside, is so much better because teachers from all over this country saw movies like Fort Apache and the South Bronx and the gangs, and they came in to teach these kids, and it's made a difference. You know, it's made a huge difference. So we're grateful for that.
It's positive role models. It's building that foundation, like the way you build that foundation of faith. it's very important for kids, so young kids, to see really what's going on in the world. I mean, you can't be completely in a bubble and alienated from what's happening in society. You really can't.
Yeah. And one of our rock stars of the film is Father Flager. You know, he's the prince of the city, one of the greatest Catholic churches I've ever seen. And he's one of the places they go and turn guns in regularly to him. And he told me one crazy story. He said the police got mad at him saying, hey, why are you getting all these guns? He said, you'd rather them in the hands on the streets, or you'd rather them give them to me and I can come and turn them into you. And politics even got upset over that. You know, the Catholic Church is making such a huge difference in Chicago, and he is one of the greatest leaders that I've ever seen. And I've been around some great Catholic leaders. I was mentored by Father Benedict Groschel out here in the Bronx, and I used to go over to him and you know, pray with him all the time, hang out with him all the time, and do silent retreats to build my spirits up, things that people don't do anymore. I listen, people push all that stuff to the side. Not me. I stay reading up. Oh man, I follow so many of the great saints and what they did and how they lived their lives and in solitude and in prayer and in following after him. I mean, I'm constantly inspired by the lives that many of the great saints have lived, you know, and I think they're examples to all of us.
I agree. Thank you so much. So where can people find out about, I know, your website or social media or about the film? Can you share with us some of the platforms?
Yeah, it's going to be right now we're putting into Sundance, so they can follow the Sundance Film Festival. Hope that we win. There's not a lot out there yet because we're just getting in that phase of the PR. So they can Google Chicago, America's Hidden War, and they'll be able to read articles, watch videos like this, and different things that have been covered on the topic as we're building things going forward. So just Google Chicago's Hidden War, and you'll see that. And the trailer will be coming out soon. So pray for us as we're editing that. We always come to you at this is my first movie interview.
Wow.
With my man, you know.
I feel honored. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it. Dimas, it's a pleasure to speak with you. God bless you. I'm here if you need me. Thank you very much.
Yes. Well, thank you, Craig. And we will need you. And we'll be back. Yeah. Look forward to hanging out soon.
Definitely.
With my mask on, maybe.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Always remember, you have the ability to inspire and evangelize through your words and actions. God bless.